Welcome to today's edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest along with one Mike Lubie. Lubit's happy to be with you here on nofilter.net, Believe Podcasts, and the various other platforms, Caffeine TV, that now are distributing this material. If you could call it that, I guess we should start today, and it's kind of been the theme of the entire week, Lubie. I was going to try and get away from this today and examine in great detail what were the possible realistic landing spots for Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, there you go.
As he is offered around in free agencies, making some visits. He was in L.A. Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, in a very subdued fashion, kind of suggested, he wants to come here. This is where he wants to be. Anaheim is like the redheaded stepchild of Los Angeles, Lubie. It's a bastion of conservatism. It's one of those places where, are you really in L.A.? No, you're starting to head into some really spiffy territory there. You can almost smell the surf at Laguna Beach crashing in on the shore with the Pacific Ocean, which was kind of chilly when I was out there, as I recall. And you can feel the warmth and the beauty and the inherent just absolute splendor of Southern California, but not from Anaheim. Anaheim would be, I think, from Southern California standards, tantamount to being Newark. When you fly over there and you're saying, thank God we're not landing at Newark, man. Get me to LaGuardia as fast as you can. This place looks like a cesspool from the sky. Unbelievable. So I was going to get into that, but we know that's ridiculous. It's probably going to be the Dodgers? Would that be the majority of speculation? It might stay with the Angels. That's possible because he doesn't want to change anything. But who knows? I mean, are we inside the mind? Holy Ichiro. What are we talking about here? Do we know anything about these Japanese players? Nothing. What do they think? I don't know. They're making more money from Mizuno than they could possibly get, even if Scott Boras was holding a gun to the head of the Toronto Blue Jays general manager and said, I want every single penny. Does anybody go to Canada by desire unless they were like Steve Nash? No, seriously. Honor is tax considerations to take into account. I would think he'd be more likely to become a Marlin. Come down here to the state of Florida where there's no state income tax, people. And there's not about to be because there are enough payoffs going on to get gambling legalized between the Seminole tribe and Governor Ron DeSantis, which somehow they had a clandestine meeting in the lower level of the garage across the street at this boxing gym. And came away with a package that they were able to legalize gambling. But, wow, I mean, have you ever argued with an insane person, Lubie, trying to apply logic and convince an insane person that their point of view was not necessarily one that was commensurate with having success at doing anything or resolving whatever issues were involved in your relationship? There's no point, right? You're talking to an insane person. We've referenced this many times. I mean, you were just praying, Lubie, that those parole board members, when they were involved in the Manson parole hearings every 5 years, and there's Charles, and he's ready to light the room on fire, man. He's talking about, how the devil possesses him and this and that. You were just praying that one of those people didn't fall asleep by accident. And rubber stamped the word paroled. It's like, what? That's the dumbest, most illogical. I mean, you can't make a decision like that. It's outrageous. But you can't argue with an insane person. And that's what seems to be happening. The conversation about Florida State getting fucked and being dropped out of the playoffs because it was all to capitulate and accommodate Nick Saban, who about a week before, after just barely escaping a game against Auburn on one of the luckiest plays since the Flutie pass play.
Other teams would have fallen 2 to 3 spots from that game.
My God, they're on the ropes against Auburn to the point where it seemed impossible. You're doing mathematical permutations, crushing them in your head, saying, not only am I going to cover the spread, but I might even score on the money line here with Auburn. These rivalry games are really, really something. We talked about that on one of these shows prior. I never believed that, but maybe there's something to it. What could compel an Auburn team to play that kind of ball game, only to lose because, as we've been talking about with Nick Saban, not only is he the most powerful man in college football, but he's just better than you with everything that he has. He has everything at his fingertips. And then on top of that, as you said, Lubie, I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I never thought about him being lucky until you said it like a few days ago. And I was like, lucky. They just are good. No, they're lucky, man.
Lucky. I've never seen a guy luck out like this. Anybody that you know that always wins, that always somehow gets his way, no matter what it is, no matter how the circumstances would dictate that anything else should happen but this. And that's what happened. But the people are really embarrassing themselves. I know you're passionate about this aspect of things because the cover up is always worse than the crime,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
And the cover up for what's going on right now. And look, do I care? I mean, have we known this forever that college sports at this level for the longest period of time now, maybe what, the last 50 years, has been all about with homage being paid to one of the great female wrestlers of all time, the Fabulous Moolah. It's been all about the Fabulous Moolah. No?
I mean, going back to, when was Kareem? I mean, again, even the great John Wooden, who was respected, deservedly so, was fantastic, cheated.
The Wizard was cheating.
So,
It's like finding out that the magician that you were watching, is a complete phony himself and has ripped off the promoters for all of their money and escaped somehow unscathed and is now living a beautiful life in Costa Rica somewhere. Just a total ripoff, not on the money. But this is going to continue into perpetuity. I think this consideration that a backup quarterback was enough to just absolutely erase the entire accomplishments of a team season where they went 13-0 and won 2 impossible ball games at the end of the year, while the other team, Alabama, who they also had to drag Texas into the equation, was Texas going to get any consideration from number 7 because they waxed Oklahoma State?
No. That's the thing is.
Were they going to jump 4 spots in the rankings, regardless of the other results?
No. In another year, no.
Jump over Georgia, who lost by 3 points to Alabama, the team that now everybody thinks is the best in the world. How can you justify this, though? I mean, who are these people, Lubie, that you're pointing fingers at?
There's no logic. I mean, look, the fact that Michigan, and again, I'm not trying to take Michigan out of it, and Washington, to me, is the only team that did everything they were supposed to, has no questions, is Washington. Every other team has flaws, from Alabama to Oregon to Ohio State to Texas to Michigan to Florida State. All have flaws. All of them. All of them have flaws. Washington doesn't, because Washington played the most ridiculous schedule ever and was undefeated. So Washington's clean, but no one else is. Michigan is getting, first of all, anything you say about FSU, offense looks bad, they wouldn't win. So why would Michigan win? Michigan's offense is a fucking abomination. Michigan has their starting quarterback who's like a 3-year starter who's been in like the last 2 playoffs, and they're scared to give him the ball to throw it.
Iowa with 0 points was still somewhat in that game until late in the contest.
Running it. McCarthy doesn't have 150 yards would be disgusting first. Right? He doesn't have 150 yards the last 4 games, I think. But why is FSU's offense the big thing? At least FSU's on the goddamn 3rd string at offense. Like, you have your starting quarterback who's been there 3 friggin' years. Going into this year was supposedly a 1st-round pick, which he's definitely not. And you're not bitching about their offense. Their coach just was suspended for cheating this year. Like, but why is FSU the thing? They're the one doing
that was crazy
to do.
Well, when you have every box checked in terms of the credentials and the requirements that have always been proliferated and professed to be the definitive criteria for deciding who wins a national championship, and you hit every one of them. And there are 2 other teams that also have similar circumstances where they are undefeated as well, but you could question. You could question, their results just as easily as you did with Florida State. So there's no other approach that you could take except to put all 3 undefeated teams into the postseason. Is
people going, stop crying. Okay.
This is all Nick.
How did Nick Saban get in?
Because he was number 5 in consideration.
But I'm saying Nick Saban was crying before they played.
Yes.
At least we waited for the result to cry. Nick Saban was crying before.
And that's how it happened. Yes. Because Greg Sankey realized that he was going to lose his $4 million a year job as the commissioner of the SEC. And who knows what else he gets in terms of compensation for literally ruling college football and then saying, hey, my guy Nick is crying. You're going to get him in? I understand what you have to do. You got to do what you got to do. Like it was Dominic DeSandro there, the Philadelphia Eagles security guy, saying, listen, we know where you guys live. As he was having this exchange on the sidelines with 49ers player who ultimately got ejected from the ball game, which was ridiculous, absolutely insane. But that's what the world has become. It's become a clown show, Lubie.
Yes.
Look at politics. We don't even bother with it anymore. It's so incredibly insane that and sports fans never do this. They never make good on the so-called. I am going to hold you to this. You
I
say
will.
you will not watch these college football
I watch
playoff
Florida
games.
State. I'm not going to punish Florida State because that would just be doubling down.
But you're a fan of Florida State.
I root for Florida State.
Yeah.
I appreciate Florida State. This season was to me as magical. We've won 3 titles, 3 Heisman's, been to like 7 championship games in my life. And this was the most magical because
it was great.
Everything went wrong that could go wrong. And most teams would have folded. And they got better. Their defense, which I lamented all year because I thought it was good, but not great, became fucking dominant.
It looked like old school Florida State defenses.
Yes, it looked like Florida
fast.
State 13, fast, powerful, determined.
I thought I saw Bobby Bowden coaching these guys.
No, Mickey Andrews. Fuck Bobby.
Yeah, Mickey Andrews. What was he? And was he possibly a poster child for some kind of inbreeding, though? Mickey Andrews. I mean, he really fit that whole hillbilly coach thing, didn't he? Mickey Andrews, a defensive coordinator, long time and well-respected defensive coordinator. I don't mean to demean his integrity at all with these unflattering remarks, but I always thought there might have been a little inbreeding there with Mickey.
I haven't looked in his.
And he was a great guy too. I interviewed him many, many times. I never mentioned that to him, by the way, Lubie.
Good for you, because he would have beat the shit out. But anyways, like
there might have been a cousin. You know,
I haven't looked at his lineage, but this was a magical year as a Florida State fan. So I will support them. I will watch them. I don't give a shit about any of the bowls, and I don't give a shit about the playoffs. I will do my job and pay attention because we talk about them. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to say. I usually watch them intently. I love this time of year, and they totally spoiled it for me, at least.
Bitter taste involved there. Literally, as we've been talking about. I mean, the kind of thing you would expect from the World Boxing Council or the International Bribery Federation, the IBF.
FIFA.
Bladder. Guitar. Oh, here's a great idea. Let's play in 150-degree heat in the desert where they have no stadiums and have never kicked a ball in their lifetime, huh? They're busy trying to make sure their camels have enough water to get them to the next stop on the tour. Unbelievable. Let's go ahead and hold a worldwide, big celebrated, much viewed, and well-attended event right here in the middle of the desert. That's a good idea. The Sheik, man. Those babes that the Sheik had. I wish I could watch a clip of that again. The announcement that Qatar from FIFA was going to be the site of the World Cup. Is that World Cup? It hasn't happened yet, has it?
It happened.
Oh, it happened already. What kind of disaster was it?
I don't even remember. We weren't even in it. America wasn't even in it.
Oh, that's right. That's why we paid little attention, because soccer has gripped and grasped the world, a moronic sport that was invented by a mutant society. And somehow it has taken its grip on the world to the point where Messi is like the athlete of the year, even though he appears to be like one of those U.S. ball players that ended up going to Japan before Japan became somewhat commensurate with, the major leagues in terms of, at least being able to produce some talent that was at that level. This is Warren Cromartie going to Japan, and all of a sudden he's hitting 340 after he hit 222 his last year with the Expos. Messi coming to the Major League Soccer. All right, we've been all over the place because we're trying to dodge this argument. It's impossible to convince somebody that is offering up an insane point of view. And it's futile to argue with these people. It just is. So all of these people now that are coming out and saying, well, you know what, they may not have done it the right way, but they got it right in the end.
No, they didn't.
Like, what?
No, they got
what
it wrong.
What kind of convoluted Skip Bayless logic is that, my friend? And I'm not like Lubie on this one, people. I mean, I like the Florida State program. I have good respect for them because I've dealt with them over the years of being involved with the University of Miami programs. And they were always a great organization, well run, still are to this day, and totally undeserving of the host job. But the justification for it, the cover up is always worse than the crime. That's the conclusion that we've come to here. And I would imagine this will still be widely discussed. Sorry, I mean, where do you think Ohtani ends up, Lubie? Ohtani, Dodger, Angels? Does he go back to? Does he go back to Anaheim?
No, I mean, no. Is that I haven't followed it at all. I've been in FSU mode.
Oh yeah.
Is that Anaheim an option? Because I thought Anaheim wasn't.
No. Supposedly there's some interest on his part, maybe in just staying there. Like I said, who can get inside the head of Ichiro?
I have no idea.
Of Hideki Matsuyama. I don't know. I mean, what are these guys thinking? They think a lot about honor and pride and things like that. And, they no matter how, the humility that they exhibit is unbelievable. So does that mean he's going to go to the Cubs and just rape them for a lot of money? Although he's not going to pitch next year, Ohtani. $600 million, that's going to break the bank. Is Juan Soto now in the Bryce Harper position? Or we have to put Juan Soto in the conversation of more overrated, Juan Soto or the stone crab, if you're here in Florida. Stone crab is a very expensive commodity. Haven't heard that many people talking about stone crab so far this year because I don't know. And the prices are a little lower than they've been in the past.
Prices have come down. Well, again, it's what it is the beginning of the season, the end of the season, people go crazy. And then once you settle into the season,
it's like, hey, who wants to pay $20 for one crab leg? Yeah, forget about that. But yeah, we often ask that question. What was more overrated, Bryce Harper or the stone crab? But could you put Juan Soto in that conversation? He did come back at like 275 last year.
Yeah, but he wasn't great.
He wasn't great, was he? Struck out 129 times. He walked 132 times. That's something that you have to factor into his overall value to your offense. It's a lot of free passes, as we see in Philadelphia, right? And you're saying, why would you have a 189 leadoff hitter? As it's almost like they put Crucky up there to bat first. All right, we have to get out of here. We've been rambling because we're still stunned. We can't figure out anything logical to say about what was the most illogical decision in the history.
It's just annoying to me when people
of modern American sport.
People are like mad at FSU for feeling this way. It's like, dude, you guys.
They've done nothing wrong. I mean,
this way before. Alabama fans were literally lobbying. Do you understand? Lobbying is what we're doing. We just were respectful of the system to do it after. You guys know how bullshit the system is. So you guys are doing it ahead of time. But that doesn't change that it's still crying. Stop doing that. Don't use words with negative connotations when it's what you're doing.
They also, somebody pointed this out. They also took a knee. They could have expanded on the scoring at the end of the game.
Both games, they were in scoring range for Florida and Louisville with plenty of time left where they could have gone Mario Cristobal. And it wasn't that they were scared of actually losing it. It was Mike Norvell respects the fucking game.
Yes.
And he shouldn't. It's not a game.
No, he had to feel like he had this in the bag. That in spite of the swirling sentiment that somehow they were going to get screwed, he had to feel that if he won that ball game against Louisville, that was it. There would be no way you could be denied, and that's probably the way that everybody should have seen it.
They interviewed him, and they're like, "So what do you think about everyone saying Alabama?" He laughed, and remember, he doesn't laugh. He's weird.
Lost by 10 at home to a team that also subsequently lost during the course of the season.
He just laughed and said, They're like, what do you mean? He's like, look, I understand TV needs to create ratings. He's like, and that's what they're doing. He's like, they've told us what we need to do. We did it. So we're in. He's like, I have no worries. I know we're a playoff team. I know they know we're a playoff team. We're in. And like, that was the end of it. He wouldn't say anything else. And it was like, I guess he's right.
Upsets are what make for great sport also. You hate to see somebody with the credentials denied a chance to at least to try or attempt to pull off the upset, which it was a mild upset. I mean, it was a 1-point differential, I think, the final line there against Louisville, but it was a respected team. And as you looked at that, you thought, wow, that's a phenomenal accomplishment if you can win that game. If they're that compromised at the quarterback position that they still managed to win a game against a ranked team, that, to me, is far more impressive than lucking out with a pass that, as we said, was up there with the Doug Flutie Hail Mary pass, Boston College, Miami, many years ago, as one of the luckiest passes I've ever seen in my lifetime of watching football at any level, even Pop Warner. So, I mean, if that's the differential, that's insane. So we could go on forever, which we have been. I don't know. This conversation may never end, people. It may never end. As you're probably happy that this one's about to come to a finish here. On the morning briefing for Mike Lubie Lubitz, he's been upset, relatively subdued, and very logical today, for the most part, pointing fingers at people in the media who are now defending the position of the committee and saying, you know what, they did the right thing.
Yeah, just say it's
right. While sports fans around the world are screwed, and at least this could have been somewhat of a Cinderella story, where Florida State gets a better quarterback back than the one they had in their championship game, and somehow manages to put it together, having a month to work this thing out and be themselves again.
Who
which
knows?
they were very good all season long, good enough to be number 4. The possibility of dropping after winning your conference title game is one of the most unjustifiable things I have seen since literally since the World Boxing Council moved Alfonso Zamora to number 1 contender, going back into the late 70s, early 80s, after he hadn't fought in 2 years, surpassing a buddy of mine who was due for a mandatory title shot. But then the year to make this match expired, and guess what? Somebody else was number 1, even though he may have well has been deceased at that time. So we're running it like it's a circus, and that's the way it's going. And get used to it, people. It's only going to continue and get
Oh
worse.
yeah.
And we'll see you next time. For Mike Louie Lewis, I'm Jeff DeForest. That's today's edition of the Morning Briefing. And we'll see you next time on NoFilter.net.